Hey guys, it's Syama Maher here, CEO of Scaling Retail, and we're here for another episode of Instagram Live, our Retailing Weekly. There have been a lot of different things that are happening in the world. Certainly, we know there have been a tremendous amount of protests and people protesting, speaking out about racial injustices. Activism is happening on full speed ahead, and there's been a lot of education and a lot of learning and healing and having a lot of uncomfortable conversations that I think we've been having within our own communities, and certainly it's been coming up within the space of retail. And so today, what I would like for us to do is take a look at how we are approaching the topics of diversity and inclusion within the retail landscape. You know, right now we're seeing a lot of retail companies that are starting to open back up. Cities are opening back up, stores are opening back up. And what's going to happen as we start to look at how these businesses are going to be shifted, and actually how we're going to be looking at changes within our retail communities. Many of you guys may have heard Jen Gotch recently stepped down as the CEO of Bando. We're also seeing similar types of stepping down. Yael from Reformation and other fashion companies are starting to come to light. And a lot of businesses out there are wondering, why did this happen, or how is it happening that these companies are coming under fire? Now, what I think is really important to understand here is that the businesses that are being called out are the businesses that say that they stand in solidarity with Black Lives Matter movements, with diversity and inclusion, and have actually tried to use it as a form of a marketing tool within their own organization as they're explaining that on social media. So the big backlash here are really about businesses that are failing to be able to actually speak up for what their actual values and beliefs are, or to step aside when their businesses and their beliefs are not necessarily in alignment, right, with what's happening globally in the world. You can't take a topic like Black Lives Matter and start to commercialize it and make it into something that is that you're profiteering off of and saying that you stand in solidarity when you don't. So when it comes to communication strategies and how businesses are looking at handling these types of sensitive issues, it becomes very important to ask yourself, what are the changes within my organization? How can I implement and think of my own diversity and inclusion, and what does it look like to have a diverse workforce? What kinds of systemic racism or implicit biases do we have to overcome as leaders and as individuals to be able to have a healthy and supportive workforce? And these types of questions are very important because as business owners who are looking to actually make contributions to society, who are looking to contribute to a better place, it becomes so much more important than just to leverage these topics as opportunities for marketing and to actually take them as opportunities to stand for something. Now, we've seen this happen across the board when it comes to different social activists and social justice things that happen. A few years ago, when the first Women's March happened, there were a lot of questions on the side of brands. How do I respond to that? Should I be politicizing? Do I stand in solidarity? What is the right role here? And if you're not ready to make changes within your organization, to have those tough conversations and to be self-reflective about your own implicit bias and what you can do to change, then it's better not to say anything at all. And I think that that is very important. Doesn't mean that your business won't continue to survive. It doesn't mean that you won't do well. But a lot of the research and statistics are showing that in order to actually be a business that is going to thrive in today's world, into the Gen Zs, the millennials, they're looking for authenticity, transparency, diversity, and they're looking for businesses who are not just saying they're going to do better, but are actually going to do the work to do better things in this world. And when we're looking at this kind of call-out culture that we live in, it's very, very important that we recognize that there's a reason why that exists. Similarly to companies who are saying that they're doing things for environmental purposes and are actually not executing on that way, the same thing is going to happen and is happening in the diversity and inclusion movement. We need to make sure that the businesses we run and the businesses that we purchase from are actually in alignment and transparent and stay in alignment with our values. So, business owners out there who are wondering, how do we actually manage this? What does this mean to us? What does this mean to our business? it's important to ask yourself, where do I fall on the lines of implicit bias? Where do I see, where have I made questionable judgments before? And it's not simply to say that, it's not just taking that moment to reflect on, what other people are doing, but what are the ways in which we've been complicit in things, and how do we actually take a stand for change? So personally, as we say, to take a look at how we do business, right? At how we look at the world through the lens, as a business owner and as a woman of color, it is also important for me to take a look at those examples and those things for myself. How diverse is the client base, right? How diverse are the people who work for us? What are the ways in which we look at equity, not just equality, right? How do we bring about equity? And equity comes in the form of, as we look at race, as we look at gender, as we look at social economic status. And these are all very important questions that as a business community and as individuals we have to address. So people who want to be in business and who would like to see their businesses growing and thriving, it is ultimately in your best interest to start to develop a much better process of self-reflecting on your values, your principles, and how you execute those through your organizations. If you have difficulty having those conversations, seek the guidance and the counsel of those who have done so. And please know that there are a lot of resources available to you online. If you're thinking about starting a business, if you haven't started one yet, and you're wondering how you want to go about your marketing, what are the ways in which you engage, it is authenticity and it is understanding that the culture you create in your office is ultimately going to be a culture that your consumer will consume. And the reason why people like Jen Gotch are stepping down is because the culture she created ultimately got exposed and ultimately led to the consumers wanting to take her down and not shop and calling for those kinds of actions to take place. So CEOs beware, founders beware. If you're not thinking proactively, if you're not asking yourself these important questions, someone's going to ask those questions for you. And if you don't have the ability to be uncomfortable with your position, if you don't have the ability to be uncomfortable with these kinds of questions, then maybe you're not the best person to be leading your organization through these really, really revolutionary times of transparency and connection. The best businesses will stay connected to their consumers. They will always fall in alignment with that. And you have to ask yourself, what are my values and what are my customers' values? It is a bummer, Sophia. It's a bummer to see these things be exposed, and it's a tremendously valuable time for us to see that and to know it. And honestly, I think that we will see a lot of transformation happen with how we do business, the corporate cultures that we create, how we look at hiring. I had a very interesting conversation with someone the other day who said, I just want to hire the best talent. And I said, well, where do you find the best talent? Oh, I hire them from Harvard. Well, who do you think is coming out of those programs? Do you think that those programs, have racial and gender diversity? Do you think that they are set up to really just take the top talent? We're seeing a lot of onion layers being revealed as we look at the ways in which we exhibit racist, classist, and gendered behaviors. So it's a wonderful, wonderful time to be alive. It's a wonderful time to have a voice. It's a wonderful time to be a business owner. We have a lot of opportunity to stand for something. We have a lot of opportunity to be a part of the change. And if you're not willing to be a part of the change, don't say anything at all. Because it's not going to land well. And if people find out that your values and your beliefs are lies, then you might as well not be expressing them at all, right? So be authentic, listen, be self-reflective, and know that the world is changing. And either you're going to change and evolve with it and sit with who you are and your values, or you're not. And that's it. We all need to take some time to figure out who we are and what we want to create. And honestly, as people who are fashion designers and brand owners, it's an audacious thing, right? To say, I have a vision and I want to take it to life. It's a pleasure and so much gratitude for the consumers and the people who actually believe in the products that you create. They believe in your values. So don't let your consumers down by not evolving. Evolve with them, evolve for them, and always strive to be better. All right, guys, that's all for me today. If your business or store is reopening, very exciting times for you. Please be safe as you are doing new business. Please make sure you are following the guidelines that you need in order to do the curbside pickups, in order to do business in the right way. It feels like there's a lot of positive momentum that's going to come out of this. And it's a pleasure to be here with all of you guys as we peel back onions and peel back things together and move forward. And remember, guys, we're in retail. People got to buy shit. So let's go make some cool stuff and let's stand for things we believe in. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.